We've got you covered.
It's called the People's Building, and now we know how much we're paying to keep it running.
Capitol Bureau Chief A.J. Byattpour digs deeper into the utility bills at the state capitol and whether it being closed to the public during the pandemic and then reopening earlier this year made any difference.
To illuminate about 40,000 bulbs and provide central air throughout a 104-year-old building that spans 525,000 square feet.
What do you think that a 12-month period it costs to power the Capitol building?
I would say $80,000.
For the year?
Yes.
Is not cheap.
$240,000.
Higher? Now you're really scaring me.
I'd say $500,000. Ben?
My initial guess was $800,000.
Seeing the building off limits to the public for most of 2020 and it reopening this spring begged the question, did the pandemic and lawmakers going more than 300 days without passing any bills at least save on the energy bill? To find out, we requested the last 3 years worth of utility bills. It was weird at first. These MG&E bills were cheap. 60 bucks, 100, 150? What? Turns out, there's an explanation. Those are just for the meters at the Capitol building itself, and there aren't very many of those. To find the main source of the power for the Capitol building, you have to go about a half dozen blocks east on East Wash. That leads you here to the Capitol Heat and Power Plant, which has been in operation for more than 100 years. Yes, the Capitol has its own power plant. And today, it still generates steam for the Capitol and other state buildings near the square. But for voltage, it now receives juice from MG&E and passes it underground to the Capitol.
Back then, we actually did produce our own power here. So they had a central plant that could control any state facility downtown.
Back to the cost. Passing through that electricity from MG&E is where the real spending is. Overall, the total invoice for fiscal year 2019 was $918,000. For fiscal year 2020, $948,000.
$950,000.
And I'm upset about mine. Well, that is mine, right?
Comparing months in and out of the pandemic reveals little difference. Look at October. In 2018, about 65 grand. In 2019, 56,000. Then in 2020, during the pandemic, 63,000.
The Capitol's ready to go 24/7 no matter what. Just because it was closed to the public because of the pandemic doesn't mean we stopped operation whatsoever.
Chad Bleefernick is in charge of the Capitol Power Plant. He says pandemic or not, open or closed, the Capitol's always on.
We always have to be prepared for anything that happens, and the Capitol has to be ready to go at any time.
Bleefernick says they are working to be more energy efficient. The state is converting all 40,000 lights to LED, including the ones outside that light up the dome at night. Those of us paying the bill might look at the cost and say,
Well, what can you do? You got to have the lights on, right?
You got to have the lights.
But even then, when you're done in a room, turn out the lights. In Madison, A.J. Byattpour, 27 News.
The Department of Administration says it's about halfway through the process of converting all the lights to LED.